Now, don't get me wrong. I love my house. I do. I saved for years to be able to buy a turnkey property with no repairs needed. But looking back, would I do it again? No. If I knew I could buy property that would pay for itself and set me up for financial freedom, I would have done things way differently. Buying a house without being stuck with a monthly mortgage payment is possible. There's absolutely a way to buy property, avoid being tied to a mortgage, and build wealth all at the same time. In this video, I'm going to cover the smarter way to buy property, how to live rent-free while building equity, and a step-by-step example showing you how this works in real life. And if you stick around until the end, I'm gonna be sharing how you can buy your second, third, fourth, or however many other properties without having to save for another down payment. And no, I'm not talking about going around and asking friends and family to borrow the money. Okay, by now you know my style, let's get right into it. Here's what I would do if I could start all over. First, I'd buy a duplex, live in one unit and rent out the other. And this is why. Yes, you'll still have a down payment to pay. Yes, you'll still have a mortgage, but the rent from your tenants covers the mortgage, meaning you're living rent-free. Now, let me show you a visual of why this is so much better than the path that I took. So on one side, you have the duplex, which you're purchasing. And on the other side, there is the single family home, which I purchased. Yes, we both spend $40K as a down payment, except every month I'm shelling out a mortgage payment. Your tenants are paying that for you. By the time the mortgage is paid off on my single family home, I will have spent $1.5 million on my home. That's the reality of interest, taxes, and all those hidden costs no one talk about. While you only have spent that $40K. Your tenants will be paying that interest, taxes, and all those hidden fees. Now, you might be wondering, why not just rent out both units for profit? But this is the thing. Living in the property is what makes the math work. When you buy a home as a residential property, a primary residence, whatever you want to call it, as long as you're living there, the down payment is only 3 to 5% versus the down payment in an investment property, which is any property that you will not be living in, which jumps up to 20 to 25%. Now, let's take a property worth $400,000 and let's take the middle percentage of 4%. On a property that is $400,000 with a down payment of 4%, you're putting down $16,000. If you're not gonna live there, that down payment jumps to $92,000. That's a difference of $76,000 that you will or will not pay, depending on if you choose to live there or choose not to live there. But the real big win is you living there and not having to pay that 20 to 25%. All you need is $16,000 versus $92,000 to get a property. The difference is insane. Now, this next part is where the strategy gets really powerful. As if living rent-free isn't enough, as if someone paying off your mortgage on a property that you're gonna own at the end of it isn't enough, and as if a savings of $76,000 wasn't enough. Think about how good it would feel to buy your next property without having to save another cent for a down payment. You saved $16,000 for that first down payment, and you're gonna buy multiple properties, never having to save that money again, never having to make a couple sacrifices for another down payment. Okay, so how it works. Once you've lived in a property for the required amount of time, your property will have built up some equity. And if you don't know what equity is, it's simply the difference between the value of your home and what you still owe. So basically, the purchase price minus what you still owe, that's the equity. There's a little more that goes into it and getting that value, especially if your house has gone up in value, but that's just a rough idea of what equity is. So what does this mean? How does equity play into all of this? What this means is instead of another down payment on your next property, you're going to use that equity to purchase your next property. When I tell you it's one of the most powerful strategies that lets you build your real estate portfolio, like it's that good. Let me show you what I mean. You buy your first duplex, you have a down payment of $16,000. You use the equity from your first duplex as a down payment for your second duplex. You live in there for a little bit of time. You build up some equity like you did for the first one. And then you just rinse and repeat and use the equity from the second duplex as a down payment for the third duplex. And eventually you'll have a portfolio of properties that pay for itself. And if you're thinking, look, I have the down payment, why wouldn't I just buy my dream home right out? Watch this video again because you've missed the whole point. The key takeaway here is that you're not just buying a home. You're building investments. You're building a portfolio, all while someone else is paying down the mortgage on those properties, all while you're living rent free, all while you're growing your wealth. And fast forward a few years, and now your dream home is paid with the profits from those properties. The best part is you're not stuck for years trying to save every time you want to buy a new property. This is how you turn one smart decision into long-term financial freedom. Click this video to watch a step-by-step breakdown on how to use equity to buy more properties without ever needing to save for another down payment. See you there.